Okay, now here at 7, we told you yesterday that a state lawmaker is hoping to advance a bill that would allow Florida's college athletes to make money from endorsements.
Just like professional sports stars, student athletes would be compensated through deals that use their names, images, and likeness. The NCAA is now a billion-dollar industry. The bulk of it comes from television rights and championship ticket sales. Hundreds of millions of dollars are allocated to schools. Top-tier coaches make about $2.5 million a year. Student athletes don't get paid. So we're joined now by State Representative Kionne McGhee. Thank you for being here. He's the sponsor of the bill. It's nice to have you, and he represents parts of South Miami-Dade. And
CBS 4 anchor Jim Berry joins us as well. I mean, Jim, we've been talking about this a lot. I get to talk to you every day. I want to talk to Representative
Absolutely. I agree.
All right. This is a hot button issue. I mean, a lot of people don't want to see a change like this, and some people say the NCAA is saying that if this happens, it would create an unfair playing field for the athletes, with some of them getting endorsements, some of them not. Well, how do you respond?
Well, it's a fairness bill. This is the NCAA's program as we know it up to date. It's an antiquated system. Essentially what it's doing is forcing students who are in their prime in sports out of the free market. This is all about fairness. This is simply allowing for these individuals to have a say in the free market. They're going to school, they're learning about capitalism. They're learning about everything on how to make money, how to create products. But for one thing that they know that works for them is their talent. And their talent right now is under attack by the NCAA.
All right, so Jim, I'll talk to you.
All right, thank you.
Professional athletes like LeBron James say this is actually an issue that's personal to him. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Okay. I was one of those underprivileged kids. Obviously, I was fortunate enough and talented enough to be able to skip college. But for sure, I would have been one of those kids if I would have went off to Ohio State, or if I would have went off to any one of these big-time colleges where pretty much that 23 jersey would have got sold all over the place without my name on the back, but everybody would have known the likeness. Me and my mom, we didn't have anything. We wouldn't have been able to benefit at all from it. And the university would have been able to capitalize on everything.
So a lot of these student athletes struggle to make ends meet. Talk about how that compares to the value they bring to these colleges and universities.
Well, that's a good question, and let's be clear, this bill would not help the guys like LeBron James. He's a 1 in a million shot. Right. He didn't need college to be successful and polished, and he is a rare bird, certainly. But when you look at what's happened, I think the NCAA has played dodgeball on this issue for far too long, because you could see where this was trending, and now obviously this groundswell indicates that the NCAA is finally going to have to deal with this issue one way or the other. It's interesting that opinions are really split on this issue along racial lines, quite honestly. Most whites do not believe that athletes should be paid while they're in college, while most blacks believe that they should be. And I think that's partly because they understand the situations of people like LeBron James and how they're struggling. So I think the NCAA has to understand, you know what, we've covered our eyes to what's going on. When you have college coaches like Nick Saban making $11 million a year, and none of the players are making anything, obviously something has to be revisited here.
Well, when you see, it's not odd to see the football coach at a university to be the highest paid person at that university. So something is wrong there. But I want to ask both of you guys, what do you think about the argument that these student athletes are already being compensated? They're getting a college education, they're getting free room and board, they're getting a degree. Isn't that compensation enough?
And this is where we have to have a laser focus on this bill. So when we're talking about a laser focus, you're absolutely right. There are contractual terms between a student and the university or the college. What we're talking about are the third-party vendors, the third-party corporations who are coming in and using the image, the likes, and the names of these young superstars who simply want to be part of a discussion. So House Bill 251 simply allows for these individuals to be at the table to allow for them to contract their name, their image, and their likeness.
You know, the thing is, you have to be careful. Look, there's going to be abuse, and you have to police that, obviously. But there's been abuse in college athletics for years and years. We all know that. We all know that a lot of players have been paid under the table. So this brings it above the table, I think, and tries to create a system where it is fair for everybody. You know, the thing is, most college athletes, as I mentioned, are not going to turn pro. And a lot of the college athletes have to take majors because in college, their time is so consumed with sports, they have to major in things that, frankly, don't amount to a hill of beans. And that's a problem. So if they have these useless majors and they don't turn pro, then where are they? That clearly they have been exploited, and I think obviously this situation has to change.
And we can bring this another point to this one. Currently, these students are not allowed to have a YouTube page to promote themselves. You remember one of the University of Central Florida students, De La Hoya, was kicked off the football team. He was the kicker. He was kicked off because he had a YouTube program promoting himself outside of football. So there's a problem with these rules as it relates to the NCAA.
Having said that, you know, obviously you have to police this very carefully because, look, anytime you put money into the equation, you're going to have issues. And what you don't want, I think, is you see all the money that's on the table. Look at the money that a lot of these...
There's a lot of digits there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, 9 and 12 digits for a lot of these programs. It's $1 billion industry. And so obviously you don't want these players, these athletes to become targets. Frankly, I'd be more concerned about the impact of them on college campuses. Already they are isolated, and you don't want them to be isolated and ostracized even more simply because they're athletes.
And what about the argument also that it might pit athletes against each other with different sports because basketball and football are the more popular sports? What do you
Well, the free market would determine whether or not there's competition. I believe this is the opportunity where the free market will be on full display. If the supply and demand components are there, then, you know, that's between them and their agent and/or their expert in that area.
And do you think that these 18-year-old kids are going to be mature enough to handle that?
The free market would let us know that. And what's stopping us from giving it a shot? Let's give it a shot. That's why part of the bill also allows for them to have counsel, also allows for them to have experts, also allows for them to have agents. So this is what this is about. This is about taking on this antiquated system and removing the restrictions from these individuals.
Yeah, it's complicated. There's no question about it. It is.
Well, I mean, California has already taken that bold step forward.
Right. And quickly, I think you bring up a point, Elliot, because look, let's take the example. Let's say there's a local car dealer, and they support this particular school, and so suddenly they offer endorsement deals to all of the five-star prospects who want to go to their school. Yeah, you got an issue there, and something that has to be legislated. But I think you have to face it because it is time. It is time for them to realize that these athletes, look, it's business for these schools. I mean, they use football and basketball especially as big revenue generators, and so if they're generating revenue for the benefit of the school, what about the benefit of the athletes?
I think the onus is on the NCAA to come up with something.
Figure it out.
I agree.
All right, thank you both.
Thank you very much.
We'll be right back.